Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We're having a look once again at the suggestions passed to the developers for April of 2025. Now it's time for the mechanics section, which is always kind of entertaining. Sometimes we get some cool stuff, other times not so much. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get looking into all of the suggestions. The first suggestion sounds like it was written by AI, and it's about Midtown Manhattan as a map, which is basically just New York for everybody who's outside of America. So New York is the largest city in the US by population, coming in at over 8 million residents in the actual city, and approximately 22 million when looking at the larger New York-Newark metropolitan area. It also has many unique features, such as, of course, Times Square, Grand Central Terminal, and also the United Nations headquarters, and many others. The other part of this is the fact that we're talking about a specific area of Manhattan, which would be about 4 to 5 kilometers squared, and this would be basically some of the larger tank maps that we've seen, apart from it would be fully urban, meaning that it would be street combat over and over and over again on very long streets, which are very much not angled, so if you decided to go along them, you would just get shot in the face by somebody who was sat on the end of it. And it actually addresses it in the article. While New York City is known for its grid design, this could be broken up with makeshift barricades, rubble, and craters scattered around the city streets to ensure that there are plenty of options for gameplay styles outside of sniping down long and open corridors. Some of the craters around the map could even provide access to the underground subway system, giving players even more opportunity to seek alternative routes to the central B point and elsewhere on the map as well. So the map envisioned, you can have a look on the screen, and yeah, it's not exactly a masterpiece. We also have a decal, specifically the PANZERJÄGERN German decal. A set of photographs dating back to the 1930s was found in Ukraine at an archive. The photographs in question are of German origin and were brought to Ukraine probably after the Second World War. The photographs depict a probably 1.5-ton Opel Blitz truck, soldiers, civilians, and a cannon. These photographs were probably taken before the start of the Second World War in 1938 or 39, and most likely part of some type of propaganda depiction designed to enlist volunteers and reassure or encourage civilians by exposing the new types of warfare and also machines involved. Unfortunately, nothing is really known about the end of the vehicle immortalized in the photograph, just as nothing is known about the end of the military personnel nearby and the civilians. The visible side of the truck shows an inscription, though, that reads PANZERJÄGERN, or PANZERJÄGERN, partially hard to tell because of the photographs, which in itself is a word which would mean panzer hunter. Although the word alone raises doubts that perhaps it was part of a larger inscription reading, for example, ready for panzer hunting, but unfortunately this is only conjecture. The lettering is done in white with accents to certain parts of the individual letters, and all letters are in capitals. We also have a suggestion for displaying armor thickness in the hangar itself, specifically the modifier. So in-game there are various types of armors for tanks, ships, and planes, and they all have different effectiveness at stopping incoming projectiles, taking into account the angle of the armor, the impact angle of the projectile, and the armor thickness modifier. This modifier is currently not shown in-game, be it by applying it to the effective thickness value or by plainly displaying it. Armor modifiers can be found on the wiki though, which they at least list them. The suggestion is to show to players these modifiers when they look at armor thicknesses of their vehicle. This would make clear, especially for new players, that a 30mm aluminium plate is not as effective at stopping a projectile as a 30mm RHA plate. This could additionally be taken into the calculation when displaying the effective armor thickness in the hangar, so therefore just giving people more information about how things work. The most egregious one I feel like when it comes to this stuff is wood. If you didn't know wood, especially for ground vehicles. It has an armor modifier of 0.05 times. So if you have something which is 100 millimeters, it's not exactly 100 millimeters. And most people don't know this, and it sucks. There's also a suggestion for custom ammo belts for air and also ground. The idea is simple. Just how we can create custom loadouts for aircraft armament, let players choose their own ammo belts after unlocking the ammo or ammo belts themselves. Depending on the mission or the individual playstyle, you would want to have an ammo belt that suited your situation, and in general it would be a great addition to the game, since not only can you test the effectiveness of different rounds against live targets, but it also makes it easier to find and test issues with ammunition that is under or overperforming. Several aircraft shells aren't actually implemented, and with guns that have a big selection of different shells, implementing them into a selection of belts would probably be difficult. An example of this would be the German MG-15120. It has an INC-T shell, but it's missing an INC round without a tracer. By implementing custom belts, the INC round without a tracer, players can put incendiary rounds into their custom stealth belt instead of having to use APHE or API. Gadgeon also snuck AP rounds into the explosive belts of certain SBAA vehicles. For vehicles like the AMX-13D CA-40, this means that 25% of the shells have a chance of being completely ineffective against aircraft at times, just passing through the airframe. Instead of tackling such issues with individual vehicles, the issue resolves itself by allowing players to use their own belt. The last suggestion is environmental heat haze. We have heat haze from engines, fires, firing guns, and radiators, but we lack actual heat haze from the heat being generated from the terrain. This could also affect tank or aircraft too, depending on the map and air temperature, as the temperature would also impact their chassis and other parts, which would help portray how hot environments are. If performance was a worry, it could be added as an advanced or variable setting on top of the normal heat haze, as I imagine this would impact performance a little bit. It's very noticeable on desert maps when you are looking at targets from far away distances, and it's as if there is no heat at all in the middle of the desert and all targets are clear and crisp, not being distorted at all. Most of the environmental haze in the game is just normal cloud haze, which acts as a very soft fog. Adding in terrain heat haze would also make cinematics just far more better and more realistic, as it adds to the environmental storytelling and imperfections that reality can create, with varying temperatures from the freezing cold to boiling hot. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.